Hello, everyone. Today we are going to look at another horrific situation with you. This story took place in Washington's second largest city, Spokane. It is located in the middle of the inland Northwest, along the same named river. The Spokane tribe gave the city its name, which translates from the Salishan languages of the local Native Americans as children of the sun. However, in today's world, Spokane is known for its dichotomy. As lovely and tempting to tourists on the outside, it may be equally deadly for its inhabitants. According to official data, Spokane County has Washington's highest crime rate, more than double the state average. According to law enforcement, domestic violence accounts for the vast majority of local-level offenses. As a result, today's story about a young Cinderella has a lovely appearance but a sour taste inside. The Holdens, a normal American family, had long lived in Spokane. They adored children. Therefore, their home was always full of them. Judy and John Holden had 2 daughters and an adoptive boy named Joshua. The adult girls had left the nest and lived alone for a while. However, Joshua, their only son, remained with his parents. The huge, melancholy, and persistently unhappy young man had failed to start his own family and was thus grudgingly residing in his parents' home. This family's concern for their children was communicated in an unexpected way. It started and ended with just providing shelter. Judy and John did not shower their foster children with love and care. All foster children had a rigid routine and were penalized for misbehavior. The youngsters formed a tiny family business. The Holden family's quest for a regular income in the form of large benefits drove them to take more than 1 or 2 children from the shelter. Judy had an educational background and had grown children with prosperous lives. As a result, guardianship authorities trusted the family and originally put children with them for foster care before adopting them based on mutual agreement. So, one day, a charming 4-year-old girl called Courtney emerged in the Holden household. Courtney Corrine Holden was born on February 28, 1992, and ended up at the shelter 2 years later. The girl's life in the shelter, like that of all the other youngsters, was not enjoyable. Every new day at the orphanage started with a prayer. Children of various ages dreamily pleaded to the Almighty for a mother and father, and one happy day, the girls' wishes were granted. Little Courtney traveled to Spokane. Courtney was only 4 years old when she first entered the Holden's home. She began living with Joshua and many other foster youngsters. When the door shut behind her, the girl's dreams of a caring and loving family remained just that. If Courtney thought life in the shelter was dismal and depressing, it was a complete nightmare at the Holdens. She was compelled to do various types of chores when she was quite young. She was required to clean the entire house and wash dishes for all family members after each meal, and if she made a mistake, she would be punished. What was especially astonishing was how well the Holdens treated the other foster children, and no one could figure out why they despised this beautiful girl. Judy Holden was already an adult at the time, and Courtney was the last kid they adopted from the orphanage. Perhaps it was here that their unfathomable animosity and loathing for the girl was concealed. Courtney was also barred from going outside without permission. People who visited their home frequently heard Judy and Joshua mistreating Courtney, referring to her as Cinderella, as if she were a fairy tale princess, who, in reality, was a stepmother's and evil sister's slave. Courtney found herself in a similar position. However, the girl was quite sensitive and grew accustomed to the hard conditions after living with the Holdens for several years. She feared her foster mother, and her brother Joshua's very existence terrified the girl. He banned her from mingling with classmates. She did not have a cell phone or other modern amenities. She never left the house without a reason and permission. She only appreciated a breath of fresh air and speaking with neighbors when the home was empty, so she stepped out into the backyard. Courtney grew raised in similar conditions. She gradually matured into an adult and became accustomed to her surroundings. She did not become bitter, but instead treated her foster parents with respect because she had no other life and no sense of a regular family. Courtney earned some independence when Joshua, due to irreconcilable problems with his parents, relocated to his sister's house for an extended period. Courtney described this as the happiest time of her life. She finally tasted independence, able to leave the house, walk around, and interact with her classmates. Time has passed. Courtney graduated and fell in love for the first time. Michael was a suitable spouse for her. She felt cared for and acknowledged by a man she had never met before. Courtney felt elated after each meeting. Their relationship lasted until 2011, when they welcomed a son. Michael begged his sweetheart to come in with him and live as a whole family. However, for unknown reasons, the young mother rebuffed him and refused to leave, remaining in the loathed Holden's house and terminating all romantic relations with Michael. By that point, the Holden mansion had become vacant. The foster kids had grown up and moved out. Courtney's foster father, John Holden, had died, so she spent a long period living with her foster mother, Judy, and her child. Michael was only permitted to visit his son with the stepmother's consent. During Courtney's brother Joshua's absence, their life with the young son was relatively tranquil. But after his father died in 2014, Joshua returned and began terrorizing the family home. He installed numerous video cameras around their home on Hero Avenue, only a block from Rogers Middle School in northeast Spokane. Signs stating "Smile, you're on camera" were put across the yard with several cameras pointed in different directions. The surveillance cameras made Courtney nervous again, as she knew going outdoors would result in problems from Joshua for escaping. Courtney's life became terrible once again. Told a neighbor in 2015 that she was no longer permitted to use a mobile phone, maintain social media accounts, communicate with anybody other than her family, drive a car, or leave the house without Joshua's consent. Joshua Holden was so enraged by the birth of her child that he compelled the young woman to cut off all communication with her son's father. Courtney silently agreed. Neighbors observed bruises on Courtney's face and arms, and when asked about the cause, she openly said, "Joshua hit me." Concerned neighbors questioned why Courtney was subjected to such abuse and attempted to assist her in any way possible. They contacted the police to raise awareness of Courtney's situation, but the Holdens were able to dismiss the case each time, since the victim never openly admitted to being subjected to familial terror by her brother. Courtney eventually lost the ability to communicate with her neighbors, who only saw her outside in the evenings because she was not permitted to leave during the day. Courtney softly obeyed again. Nobody knew Joshua as Courtney did. He was a tall, huge, and overweight man with immense physical strength who never held back while insulting others. Joshua's friends described him as a man with a neurotic personality, nasty and unpredictable. He once boasted openly about his capacity to end a life and dispose of the body with ease. He has a significant criminal history. In 2005, he was accused with assault and harassment, but he was released due to a lack of evidence and the victim's refusal to cooperate with authorities. He was also suspected of assault and misbehavior against a woman in 2003, but the culprit could not be identified. Joshua was arrested in 2006 on charges of domestic abuse against his mother and burglary. These occurrences forced his departure from his parental home for several years. Joshua got much more violent after his return. He installed cameras both outside and inside the house to maintain complete control on Courtney. The young mother practically ceased talking with her friends, noting that she was terrified to go anyplace for fear of Joshua finding out and things worsening. One person spoke with Courtney every day via Facebook until Joshua realized she had one. "I have to go. I must depart. Josh is coming," she stated in her final message nearly 2 years ago. Then her account went completely dark. Family acquaintances described the dynamics in the Holden household as odd. People associated with the family were perplexed as to why Courtney's youngster addressed Judy as mother and Joshua as father, while his original mother was only mentioned by her first name. Several speculated that Joshua was actually the child's father. Neighbors and acquaintances decried the Holdens' lifestyle and antisocial behavior, choosing to avoid their home. Following yet another disagreement in August 2018, Courtney hurriedly packed her possessions into a suitcase and fled to the street. An enraged Judy yelled after her, "Come home," to which Courtney responded, "I won't stay here any longer." Moments later, an enraged Joshua, who was over 6 feet tall and weighed 300 pounds, forcibly lifted the 160-pound Courtney, and hauled her back inside the house. Judy slammed the door closed. A neighbor said she couldn't resist. This was the last time this neighbor, or anybody outside the household, saw Courtney. The young woman had lived a life of invisibility and remained so. It took nearly 2 years before neighbors and acquaintances were concerned about her disappearance. Courtney Holden's child's father and current girlfriend expressed concern about her whereabouts in October 2019, a year and a half after she went missing. They hadn't seen Courtney in nearly 2 years, and the father was excited to see his child. The father of Courtney's son reported him missing to the police. By October 24th, officers arrived at the Holden residence with a search warrant and were astonished to discover Courtney was not present. Neither Joshua nor Judy wanted to cooperate with the authorities. Courtney's stepmother permitted officers to peep into her room before requesting that they leave as quickly as possible. Even search dogs were brought in, but they proved ineffective. The Holdens alleged that Courtney had abandoned her son and fled. They couldn't explain who could continue to cash the Social Security funds that had been placed into her account, or who was using electronic food stamps. Judy and Joshua did, however, withdraw the remaining $600 from Courtney's bank account on the same day the search was done at the Holden residence. The next day, an unidentified lady claiming to be Courtney called the National Center for Criminal Information in America. She stated that she was safe and did not wish to be sought for. Police traced the phone conversation and identified the woman as one of Courtney's stepsisters. Later, Joshua and Judy gave numerous contradicting accounts concerning Courtney's disappearance. They once claimed she fled away with a truck driver, while another story said she had a secret lover she kept hidden from everyone. Courtney's absence, as well as the inconsistent testimonies of others she stayed with, made the Holdens suspicious. Joshua and Judy Holden fled Spokane by the end of October 2019, indicating that they had something to hide. Their flight only convinced detectives of their role in Courtney's disappearance. The Holdens were discovered in Texas, at the residence of one of Judy's adopted daughters. Authorities were able to charge them with cashing benefits meant for Courtney, as well as identity theft, resulting in their arrest and imprisonment in a Texas jail. The Spokane Police Department tried a wellness check on Courtney in early October, but it rapidly became a missing person case, which was turned over to major crimes detective Randy Lesser. Lesser spoke to the Spokesman Review about the investigation after the search warrants he filed in Spokane County Superior Court were made public. This account of Courtney's disappearance and inquiry is based on police interviews and court records. Courtney was officially proclaimed missing. Alerts were sent to all states, and multiple television broadcasts highlighted the missing person case, sparking a widespread hunt for her. When patrol officers and detectives visited the residence for various reasons, Joshua and Judy Holden refused to participate with the investigation, which is unusual for welfare checks in missing persons cases. On the day Courtney was classified missing, a lady claiming to be her contacted crime check to confirm her safety. The police dispatcher also spoke with the woman who claimed to be Courtney. Later, it was determined that Courtney's sister did not explain Lesser why she had impersonated her, most likely to avoid suspicion from Judy and discontinue the search operations. In an interview with Spokesman Review, Lesser expressed anxiety that she maybe died. Lesser was particularly concerned about Joshua's past of violence. Joshua had previously been charged with assault, but the case was dismissed shortly before trial due to the victim's refusal to cooperate with authorities. Investigators were gathering DNA evidence, and court filings from that case revealed that Holden was suspected of another assault in 2003. Joshua's neighbors and family regarded him as unstable, harsh, and suffering from paranoid schizophrenia. Judy was afraid of Joshua after learning that he was unemployed from a neighbor. Joshua had also been arrested for unlawful confinement and domestic abuse, and he had been convicted of burglary. According to family members, Joshua and Judy boasted to them about knowing how to elude the police, and Joshua made comments about how simple it would be to end someone's life and hide the body. People do not simply disappear, especially after they have a child, Lesser observed. Court filings said that Courtney was a caring mother who would never forsake her child. Courtney was not seen outside her home for 1.5 years, and Joshua and Judy informed neighbors and family that she was traveling with a boyfriend, an unknown truck driver whom they had never seen. Sometimes reports arose that she had fled with a fiancé, and other times she was allegedly just inside the house, but inaccessible for visitors. Judy informed Lesser that Courtney had just been home a few days previously when he knocked on their door in early October. She stated that Courtney left on foot with her son. When Lesser requested for Judy's phone number, she locked the door in his face, according to court records. She then reluctantly invited the cops inside to inspect Courtney's room. Lesser explained that she grew quite nervous. Lesser stated in court filings that the residence was incredibly cluttered, with heaps of stuff taking up all available counter space. Courtney's room was likewise messy and her mattress was empty. Lesser saw that there didn't appear to be anyone living there. Judy panicked after losing sight of one of the detectives behind a closed door. When Lesser requested that the detectives search the rest of the house for Courtney's child, she ordered them to leave. Later that day, a neighbor informed Lesser that they had seen Joshua, Judy, and one of Courtney's sisters leave in a van with a child. Detective Lesser also found it unusual that Courtney, who had a chronic ailment, hadn't seen a doctor since October 2017. She received her last prescription in July 2018, despite having received meds every month before leaving. Despite the missing medical paperwork, money was withdrawn from Courtney's bank account on a monthly basis, and her ET card was used for groceries. Joshua and Judy were seen shopping with a young child, according to surveillance footage. Cameras also saw the pair removing the remaining funds from Courtney's bank account on the day she was reported missing in early October. By October 24th, Joshua and Judy had left their home. Lesser stated that the DVR from the home surveillance system had been taken, and the family's 6 pets had left when police arrived to execute the search warrant. Joshua and Judy's mobile numbers were terminated in mid-November, but 2 new numbers were activated on the same day with Texas area codes. About a month after the Holdens left, a neighbor reported suspicious activities at the house to the authorities. Judy's daughter and her husband flew in from Texas to check on the property. They said they hadn't seen Courtney in 2 years, and Judy had retired. The man told authorities that Joshua and Judy had a child, but Judy's daughter said it was Courtney's. Lesser came to Texas in mid-December to find Joshua and Judy. The cops discovered them in Judy's daughter's residence, along with Courtney's son. Joshua and Judy Holden were arrested on allegations of identity theft, interference with custody, and using Courtney's bank accounts while concealing her kid. The child was found safe and returned to his father. There were no criminal charges filed against any family members. The police searched Judy's Spokane house with search dogs, but discovered no evidence of Courtney. Courtney's whereabouts were likewise unknown after searches of his Texas residence. Officers also checked Judy's vehicle and trailer, which were parked at an RV lot in Oklahoma. Joshua, 40, and Judy, 74, were in jail in Texas when they rejected to be interrogated by authorities. They refused to be extradited to Spokane, so police waited for a governor's warrant to bring them back. Because they could not show their role in Courtney's disappearance, they were most likely released. According to Lesser, the months long inquiry is likely one of the most complex missing person cases. I have 4 notebooks filled with varied information. Judy and Joshua continue to deny any involvement in Courtney's disappearance, while investigators suspect she is deceased but are unable to prove it. Domestic abuse specialists identify many reasons why situations like Courtney Holden's aren't often reported. One is the social presumption that someone else would handle it, according to Morgan Colburn, the UK's Director of Counselling, Advocacy, and Outreach. Colburn suggested that fear of reprisal could be a factor, and some individuals regard it as a family issue that must be addressed at once. Despite the allegations listed above, Judy and Joshua have not been charged with anything directly linked to Courtney's disappearance. Many people feel they know what happened to Courtney. In addition to his known aggressive conduct, Joshua had declared that he could end someone's life while effectively concealing the body from police. Investigators believe Courtney died, but no arrests have been made in her case as of yet. To summarize today's story, it is heartbreakingly evident that Courtney was unfortunate to become a member of the Holden family, and that this young girl who dreamed of family and love lacked the strength to defend herself. She was completely convinced that even the individuals who yelled at her, humiliated her, and forced her to work for them were her family. But do you really need to defend yourself from your own family? It is deeply regrettable that Joshua Holden's bold public boasts about being able to end a life and bury a body cannot be utilized to prove his involvement in Courtney's disappearance, especially since, after that tragic evening when he violently forced her back inside the home, she was never seen again, and no one knows what she had to go through in those dreadful moments, or what horrors were done behind closed doors by these monsters who called themselves parents. There are numerous methods for discreetly disposing of a body utilizing substances that neither experts nor police dogs can detect. This implies that if Courtney was hurt that evening, her spirit remains on the Holden estate, where she sought a family but met her fate instead. Her small son was removed from the Holden household and placed in the care of his father, where he lives today. Courtney Holden is still reported as missing. If you have any information that could help with the investigation, please contact the Spokane Police Department